I'm going to be able to promise you tonight. It's not that I won't say some things that you probably won't agree with, or that some things that maybe that you don't want to hear as an LSU fan, but there is one thing that I can promise you that I won't be doing tonight. Apparently, I said way too many curse words last night that offended some people. That I don't apologize for. It is a post-game show. I tell you this all the time. Listen, man, if you're going to be around kids, I apologize. We get lively on these post-game shows. But tonight, we got lots to discuss. We're going to recap after taking a couple more looks at this USC LSU game. What are some things that we saw? We'll hit 7 big key points here. 7 key points of things that happened in the game. Number 1, starting off with penalties. The second thing we're going to get to tonight is I see and have saw former and got into Twitter spats. When I say that I got into Twitter spats, or Twitter wars or Twitter debates, doesn't mean I hate somebody, doesn't mean I dislike somebody. Just means I disagree with what they are saying. But I've seen some people, especially former All-Americans at LSU, that the defense let you down last night. Guys, is that the takeaway from most of you LSU fans? Give me in the chat. I need you to do me a favor right now. Do me a favor inside the chat right this second. If you thought that the defense played pretty good last night, give me a thumbs up. If you thought the defense played pretty bad last night, give me a thumbs down. Do that in the chat right now, because the way that I see it is that the defense was the only reason that you were in the football game. The only reason that you were in the football game. So we'll go on to Ruffino's rants. Will Blackwell, former LSU All-American, respect his opinion very much, but he debated me today in reference to that, well, no, the defense not stepping up in the fourth quarter is why you lost. Well, then what happened for the first 20 minutes in the second half? We'll get to that as well. We'll go around week 1, some teams that were really good in week 1, some surprise teams maybe in week 1. Vanderbilt. Yeah, Vanderbilt step up. And I'm just going to tell you this. I don't think Virginia Tech's a bad football team. I don't think that they're a bad football team. But the Vanderbilt Commodores stood out, and had a good game. Clark Lee, the defensive coordinator for Brian Kelly a couple years ago, making his presence felt in Nashville. So we'll get to that as too. We are a little bit early tonight, mainly due to the fact I don't like going like on these Labor Days. Number 1, it's Labor Day. But number 2, I don't like going, during prime key matchups in college football. Like most of you know this by now, we do a national show. By the way, Ruffino and Joe show over 500,000 views in the last month. Oh, actually 682,000 views in the last month. If you're not over at Ruffino and Joe show on YouTube, you need to go over there and subscribe. Me and Joe talk nothing but college football around the nation, not LSU or just SEC, but around the nation. It's been really fun. But we'll talk about some teams here tonight that I thought that stood up and stood out. And we got a pretty interesting week 2. Very interesting week 2. Couple comments flying inside the chat right now. Tim Benson with a $10 super chat. Tim, before I get to your super chat, let me pause for just a moment for station identification. I want to give you props, the chat. Guys, last night, I got to admit something. It is my outright passion to come out here every night, or at least 6-7 times sometimes a week, and be able to talk about LSU sports with you. If we're on Ruffino and Joe show, to talk college football year-round, which is my love. Last night, you sent over or around approximately $500 in super chats last night. I want to give you a big thank you. Without you, the fans, I can't do this for a living. Now, I took a pretty big leap of faith and betted on myself to do this. I can't do this without you. So I want to say thank you. And a round of applause goes to all of you that were watched our post-game shows, have been pushing what we are doing. I greatly, greatly appreciate everything that y'all have done for me and everything that you have done for this show. So $500 last night in the Super Chats. That is a record, even more than a record than it was during the baseball national championship run. Yeah. Absolutely amazing, man. Absolutely, positively, 1,000% amazing. I just want to thank all of you for doing that for us. It's overwhelming, man. Overwhelming how awesome you guys are. We are having some internet issues here again. Spectrum's going to Spectrum, I guess. I don't know. I really just don't know anymore. I don't know. But we're going to try to power through it and get through it here. But Tim Benson, thank you, Tim, for a $10 super chat, says, we were sold on a CEO type of coach that can get LSU back to a national championship. I think Brian Kelly is more Frank Solich. Great winning record, but can't win when it matters. Even had a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Here's where I stand on that. You can agree with my opinion. You can disagree with my opinion. I'm not out on Brian Kelly at the current moment. Look, you got a long season left to go. And we don't know what USC is. You know, I told you during the preseason and during the offseason that after I got my eyes on this team during the fall, that it was of my opinion that this team would be more 2022-ish than it would be last year's team. Felt a little bit like that, a little. You know, felt a little bit like that. I'm not out on BK yet. However, they got to they really have to start getting things going. And look, man, your margin of error is very thin. Like, guys, you only have one more loss that you can have. The margin is very, very thin here if you want to make the playoffs. Kel Booty with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Your boy on YouTube with a $5 super chat. Thank you guys so much for sending that in. He says, forgot to write a message. What is your message, man? What is your message? Rodney Kraft says, cussing, you should have heard that other guy. Yeah, people were on me last night, man. People were on me last night. Kel Booty's message is, why is Sage Ryan on the boundaries? Because they don't feel like they have enough experienced corners that can be out there. You know, look, you went it with P.J. Woodland last night, and he had a PI, then he had a PBU. And look, here's the thing about Sage Ryan that I want to make very well known. Sage Ryan got looked bad because it looked like he busted a coverage. He gave up a touchdown, and then the second play, the fade route, they were in cover too. That's not on Sage Ryan. So I don't know necessarily what to make of that, other than it kind of is what it is. You know, like they don't feel that they have anybody else that can do it. And for that reason alone, you know, that they keep putting him back out there. They keep putting him back out there. All right. Kel Booty says, forgot the message. Why is Sage Ryan on the boundary still? All right. There's his. Woodland had two plays. One, he had a PI, and the other one, he had a PBU. Your boy says, I'm just sick of everyone blaming our defense, our offense or defense. When it's a coaching problem, you got 3 straight stops and didn't do anything with the ball. Trust your damn quarterback. We're going to talk about that a lot tonight. That's going to be a big, big, big theme of the show. Massive theme of the show here tonight. So we'll get to that. Our good man, Braun, former guest on the show, CEO of Believe, USC Trojan, says it was a great game. Team with the ball last one. Very true. Very true. Yeah, me and Braun were cutting up at the beginning of the game. And then, you know, after last night's post game, I had 800 and some odd messages. And then literally, Braun, I could show you, I literally had 172 text messages that I'm still trying to comb through. People don't text me on my birthday, but they're going to text me if LSU football sucks. Man, oh man. Man, oh man. Serene And Keen on YouTube with a $5 super chat says Sloan and BK were overthinking the second half. Agree with that. Baker did great, but the DBs need work. Bottom line, year 3 for BK, and he did not have them ready. Yeah, I mean, look, man, Blake Baker is a wizard. There, I said it. He's a wizard. And you're going to continue to be moderately good defensively, right? Like, I still think that you're going to be moderately good defensively. But, yeah, he's a wizard. Yes, I'm aware of the things going on with the internet. I can't fix it. Guys, our internet out here in the studio was out all day yesterday until the game got back. I don't know what else to do. I have no clue what else to do. We're just going to have to power through it. All right. Thank you all for the super chats, and thank you for the super chats last night. The phone calls were electric, too. All right, let's do this. Tons and tons to discuss. Let's get to it now. Everybody do us a favor. If you're on Facebook, hit that like and share. Share to all those groups on Facebook, all of your social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Let's talk about our good friends over at betonline.ag. Our good friends over at J&J Exterminating, my good buddy Tyler Alexander over at LPT Realty. Stay with us. We got lots to discuss. Let's break this game down. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
Not only that, we're having some technical difficulties in here. Interns are about to get fired on their supposed to be day off. Y'all are all right. I'm just messing. But nevertheless, we're back. All right, let's get to it. So last night, LSU lost to USC 27-20. Guys, I'm just going to say what it is. It sucks for us. It really, really, really stinks for us. But that was a really good football game. From start to finish, a very, very good football game by both teams. There are 7 key points that I want to point out after going back and rewatching the game from last night. And these are in no specific order. So I do these because I just see things and they come to my mind and things that we need to discuss, and we run through them. So if you think that like Blake's going down a list and he thinks, well, this is the biggest problem, that's not the case. It's just these are the 7 things that I deem that are why the reasons that you lost the football game and things that you got to get better at. Let's start it off here. Penalties. You can't have 100 yards worth of penalties. It just cannot happen. When you have that many penalties for that much yardage, it's going to get you beat. Now, let me say this. I don't mind celebrations. I am not the guy that's going to come out here and say, the kids don't need to be celebrating. Take the celebrations away. However, when those celebrations that you are having are legitimately hurting your team, for example, when Kyron Lacy catches a touchdown pass, beautiful throw, beautiful catch. I don't mind the celebration with your teammates. I don't mind doing that. I think it's actually great for the game that those things happen. Okay? However, when you're pointing a fake gun or whatever you're doing, playing like Duck Hunter from the late 80s, whatever that game was, you remember on the Nintendo? Like when you're doing that and you get flagged for it, and they have one of the best return men in Zachariah Branch in the country, those kinds of things come back to bite you in the rear end. When Savion Jones on 4th down gets through the line of scrimmage and bats a ball in the air, and you get a turnover on downs, and Major Burns takes his helmet off. Guys, that's 2 fifth-year seniors. 2 guys that have been in college football for 5 years. And if you do that in the NFL, you know what's going to happen? Not only are you going to get benched, they're not going to play you. They will pull you for stuff like that. But there are other penalties in here as well. You know, you had multiple false starts. You had a couple of illegal procedures, like guys not on the line of scrimmage, Kyron moving in motion at the same time as Josh Williams that got you flagged. By the way, you got a first down on that. So you went 5 of 13 on 3rd down, but you had a legal procedure that gets backed up because of, and a crucial first down that you would have had because you have 2 players moving at the same time. Now, what you should have done is, in a crucial situation like that, I know timeouts are paramount, but you should have called the timeout because you could not take those many penalties on 3rd down. Will Campbell had a couple of false starts, and some of them were just Rudy poo. You know, like I thought that USC got away with a lot of offensive pass interference stuff, and LSU got flagged for defensive PI. People that will look and hear me say that will say, well, Blake's just being a homer. And that's fine. But I think that USC could have been flagged for a couple of offensive PIs too. But you can't have 100 yards worth of penalties. Guys, you legitimately gave up 447 yards of total offense, of total offense to USC. But it's like 547 yards when you're giving up that many yards in penalties. So number one, you got to clean up the penalties. You know, one thing that I thought when Brian Kelly came to LSU that he would be able to clean up pretty quickly would be dumb penalties. You know, like these dumb, idiotic, small little penalties that LSU constantly has, right? Like that's a small penalty when you jump off sides, but this is the small things of taking your helmet off and being in a place with situational awareness with Major Burns knowing he can't take his helmet off. Those things come back to beat you. That's number one. Number two, probably the biggest point that I had last night that was very crucial. Kyron Lacy went off last night, and in the first half had 7 catches for 94 yards and a touchdown. That drastically hurt you when you went in the second half and you did not get him touches in the football. That cannot happen. That's got to be like today. I'm sure that the entire staff is in the office, and I'm sure that they're going over things, right? Like I'm sure that they're breaking down game film. They're coming up with game plans. They're going through it. I know that they're working hard, and I'm never going to judge. I'm never going to say that these guys aren't working hard because I know that they do. But the lack of situational awareness that Kyron Lacy hasn't touched the ball in the second half is embarrassing. It is drastically embarrassing that you have arguably one of the best receivers, not only just on your team, but arguably one of the best receivers in the SEC, and he hasn't touched the ball in the second half. Now, they said, and the stats will say that Kyron Lacy was targeted in the second half. No, it wasn't. Both of the throws that were made were throwaways, right? Like both of those throws were throwaways by Garrett Nussmeier. He had to get the ball out. It was what it was. Joe Sloan is a very young coach, and he's a very young coordinator. And LSU sometimes isn't the place where you can let a guy work through things. I think, and this is of my opinion, that Brian Kelly is going to have to get involved in offensive play calling. He's going to have to. BK is arguably one of the best play callers when it comes to offense. We've seen him do it at Notre Dame. Their most prolific offense at Notre Dame was when he was calling plays. Mike Denbrock actually was his aide on that, believe it or not. So in and of itself, it's pretty funny. Look, man, I think Joe Sloan is going to be a great coach, but you're going to have to help him in critical situations. But the lack, and I mean the lack of situational awareness of him not getting the ball to Kyron Lacy in the second half is embarrassing. It's completely embarrassing. So they're going to have to figure that out. All right, number 3. I'm conflicted on number 3 because I don't think that you ran the football effectively enough at times last night. I think that there were a lot better things that you could have done in the running game. I think that, you have Will Campbell on our channel. I'll just give you this. On our channel, Will Campbell, the clip of him saying that we're going to Las Vegas to get in a fist fight. On my channels alone, on AYS Sports, on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Like Facebook, the viewership on Facebook was 202,000 views off of that clip of Will Campbell saying that. It was 45,000 views or 50,000 views on Instagram, and I think it got another 10,000 or something on Twitter or YouTube. I can't remember it all. I thought the run game was underperforming. And it underperformed in the sense of I don't think that it was necessarily an underperformance in reference to what they were trying to do versus how they tried to do it. Let me explain. Guys, multiple third down runs. LSU started bringing their receivers in, right? They would go in these tight bunch formations, and they would try to run the football. Sometimes they went in 12 personnel and tried to run the football. When you do that, guys, I counted this in the second half because I got an all-22 copy today and went through it. On 8 different runs, whether on second or third down, LSU would go in these bunch tight formations, and it would force USC, maybe not even schematically that they were trying to do this, but there were 8 runs in the second half when you try to run it right at them that they had at least 8 guys in the box. 3 of those runs, they had 9, and they had 2 other guys on the boundary when you came in tight. Guys, I don't really care how good your offensive line is. When you had that many players in the box, it's going to be difficult to run. So what did work? Well, John Emery got some things going. He got one on a counter run where it was a busted play. USC got caught in a bad run blitz. It was a really good call, and John Emery hit a seam, and he got a lot of yardage. But what happened in the second half when you did it? Guys, did you know that LSU averaged 8.2 yards per carry when they did those toss plays or got stretch plays on the outside? 8.2 yards per carry. Both of your tackles are All-Americans and top 15 picks. If your interior is a problem, why don't you run it outside to your elite playmakers? That's something that's got to be fixed. Now, was the run game underwhelming? Yeah, it was. But here's the thing, too, that we need to look at. You know who else thought that you were going to run the ball right at them? USC. You know why they stacked the box? Because they wanted to take away your run, and they wanted you to hit deep shots on them. You know what they said? Hey, Garrett, we're going to come right after you. We know you got to make right and quick decisions. We're going to make you make the right quick decisions so that you move the football. The lack of offensive explosiveness and creativity and trying to push the ball down the field, which is actually, ironically, number 4. So I'll just bring it in here. So the number 4 point is that they wanted to take away your running game. They did, to pretty much all extents. Now, you ran the ball for over 5 yards a carry. That's good enough if you can do it consistently and stay with it. The problem is that if you have 2 elite tackles, feature them more in the running game by getting the ball to the outside. D'Anton Lynn schemed it up. And this goes to my second point. If they're going to put that many guys in the box, why did you not make an adjustment to start throwing the ball and taking shots downfield? You know you did that in the first half multiple times to Kyron Lacy. Guys, I'm serious, and when I'm about to say this, I really think you lost the football game by not getting Kyron Lacy the football. I really believe that there were so many instances that you could have gotten Kyron the football in these 3rd-and-1 type of situations that would have backed USC out of their pressure looks. Guys, throw a quick hitch to him. Throw a quick slant to him. But when you continue to make those plays, they're going to back out. And if they're stubborn not to, keep hitting them on it. But they wanted to take away your running game, and you didn't. What USC did last night was beautiful defensively, because this is what they did. They came out and said, you know what? D'Anton Lynn said, you're going to try to run the football, and everything that I'm going to do schematically is to take away your running game. It's all I'm going to do. It's all I'm going to do. And I kept thinking throughout the game, when is Joe Sloan going to throw a counter punch at him? Like throwing a fade route to Kyron Lacy in the back of the end zone that went for 7. You didn't counter. They showed you what they were doing, and you didn't counter. You can say that you did or you tried, but schematically you didn't. You kept dumping it off. So that's 3 and 4. Number 5. I've seen a lot of people talking about our secondary. And on paper, you would be right in saying that our secondary wasn't great. I'm just not there with you. Were they bad? I don't think they were bad. Guys, this USC team last year would have had over 450 passing yards on you. I saw improvement. Ashton Stamps with the PBU in the end zone. Ashton Stamps had multiple plays where he did really well. PJ Woodland with the PBU. Now, I do think that a lot of people are going to continue to point at Sage, which I don't think Sage played as bad of a game as most of you are trying to intend. But I thought the secondary played well. And here's another thing. The secondary did not give up a lot of those 3rd down completions to the tight end. You had linebacker versus tight end, and they beat you on it. Neither one of the Weeks brothers, Greg Penn, nobody could stop the tight end McCree. Nobody. Kyron Hudson with the probably what's going to be the best catch of the season. That catch was insane. What do you want Major Burns to do there? I really don't know what you want Major Burns to do there. It's a bad throw, but an unreal catch. I don't know. Do things need to be a little bit cleaned up in the secondary? Yeah. Yeah, they do. But we'll see, man. I just don't think they played as bad as I'm threw it in there. I just don't think that they played as bad as some of you say that they did. Number 6. So we talked about Sloan versus Lynn and that being a big thing. And look, the USC's defensive coordinator versus your offensive coordinator, they won that matchup. And I'm going to be real with you. I thought that you won the matchup of your DC versus Lincoln Riley. By the way, I'm going to talk about this in a minute. Frank Castillo, I see your super chats, man. We're going to get to them in just a second. I see the other ones too. Thank you. Here's another thing. Lincoln Riley has never had an offense as an OC or as a head coach that has not been in the top 10. It's never happened. You held them to 27 points. We're going to talk about that in a minute. We're going to discuss that in a minute. But they won the DC versus our OC battle. With that being said, I want to bring this up because this goes to the explosiveness part of it and you not being explosive. I don't think we're talking about Chris Hilton being injured enough right now. And how big of a deal that is that you can't stretch the ball down the field. Of the 38 passing attempts, Garrett Nussmeier had 24 of them that were 10 yards or less. Let me say that again. Of the 38 passing attempts that Garrett Nussmeier had, 24 of them came from 10 yards or less. 8 of them were from 10 yards to 20 yards and 5 from 20 yards plus. One of those 20 yards to plus was a touchdown. You can't do that against good teams. You can't do that against good defenses. You can't do that against teams that are going to try to take away your running game. And I know that they're sending pressure, but 24 of your passes out of 38 attempts, you're jumping the ball off within 10 yards. That's the most Drew Brees, Sean Payton thing that I've ever seen. And sometimes it's work if your playmakers are able to make plays, but it's just not conducive to – they're going to keep everything in front of you and tackle. You know what USC did really well? They tackled in space. You got to give them the threat of throwing the ball down the field. Like you have to. You have to give them the ability to throw the ball down the field. And here's another thing. I know Chris – I know that Kyle Parker were injured. Aaron Anderson isn't slow. Xavier Thomas isn't slow. Jelani Watkins isn't slow. You got to generate explosive plays. That's what they did on you, by the way. You know what they did on you was on multiple drives that they had scoring plays or scoring drives, either field goal or touchdowns. Did you know that they had at least 2 plays over 15 yards in the passing game? You only had a pair of those. You got to force the ball down the field, man. Even if it's incomplete, you got to back them out off of you. You know, it's like in boxing when a fighter is shorter than the other. He wants to get inside and brawl against the taller fighter. So what does the taller fighter do? He jabs. He keeps him away. Sometimes you got to take long shots to back people off of you so they don't come close. It's not good. Not good at all. Here's the last thing, and I want to get to the Ruffino's rants. I didn't put this in the Ruffino's rants, and I could have gone 10 straight points. There was a part in the TV copy of last night's game that I want to address. There was a situation where Joe Sloan was in the press box, and the TV copy apparently showed, and which I went back and watched it again today, that he was chewing out Garrett Nussmeier, and it looks as if he says, run the bleep bleeping play that I call. Stop changing my play calls. Now, either one or two things are going on here. One or three things are going on here. Either Cortez Hankton's changing plays on the sideline. That ain't happening. Number two, Garrett's checking out of it, even though Garrett Nussmeier checked out of a play that Aaron Anderson scored on. Or that Joe Sloan is a little bit too much into the moment. But I don't know if that's how you need to talk to your quarterback in critical situations when you're not the head coach. Sorry. I mean, he's already uptight in his second start. You got to give him confidence. I didn't like what I saw from Sloan there. And I think that everybody was feeling the pressure. And pressure either makes diamonds or it crushes you. So, anyway. All right. I got some super chats in here. Let me get to these super chats very quickly. And then I'm going to get to my Rufino's rants and we'll go around college football and then get out of here and watch some football. Hazard Egg on YouTube with a $5 super chat says, I don't think I've ever been so mad. I think BK needs to get more involved in play calling. I feel they need to stop Nuss. They need to stop Nuss from throwing the deep pass. I think they stop. I felt like they stopped, maybe is what he's saying. So here's the thing about Brian Kelly and play calling. I agree with you. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to do that. I know it's only one game and we don't want to overreact, but here's the thing that got you beat too. All right? Guys, you were 5 of 13 on third down. And you all come in here and claim to me and talk shit to me about Blake talks about Jaden Daniels too much. Okay. Jaden was elite because on third down, he had the ability to run the football. And when you pick up first downs with your legs, or however you pick it up, it doesn't matter. 5 of 13, man. You were the number one team in the country on third down last year. Let me say that again. You were the number one team in the country on third down last year. Last night, you went 5 of 13. If offensively you keep doing that, you're going to lose a lot of football games that you shouldn't. Penn Jones with a $4.99 super chat says, O-line can't run block and play calling the issues. Hilton on sideline trying to be playa instead of supporting team, embarrassing. I didn't see I didn't see that. I didn't see what Hilton did there. I appreciate the super chat, but I didn't see what he did. But here's the thing, though, Penn, that I'll put on that. Brian Kelly made a comment about guys on the sidelines and acting like we won and all that. No, they're on the field acting like that too. You got 2 fifth-year seniors that are out there making an ass of themselves. Now, let me say this. This is going to be misconstrued, but I'm going to say it anyway. Again, I don't mind the celebrations. I don't mind it. But this whole generation of gun pointing, dog, you don't know gangsters. Sorry. And you're not one. You're not one. If you want to know one and meet one, I got a couple uncles you can meet. Guys, there's a level of respect that you got to have for your opponent. And then Kyron goes on the sideline and they're like, man, what did you do? He goes, and then he does it again. Like, yeah, I told that dude I'm going to shoot his at. It's dumb. Guys, it's dumb. So make whatever you want about that. Okay? That's a dumb penalty. Now, if what I'm saying to you right now just got taken out of context, rewind what I just said and listen to it again. Because that shit gets you beat. Then you have the major burns in the helmet thing. They ain't got shit to do with Chris Hilton. Ain't got nothing. All right, a couple more, and then we're going to get to this Rufino's rants before we get out of here. Frank Castile with a $49.99 super chat. Back to back here, by the way. Back to back. Thank you, Frank. But he says, I've been unsubscribed viewer for years. Your Florida State playoff take last year seemed to put you in the minority of LSU fans with the right take. One I mirrored. Your LSU versus USC postgame show had me like, yep, more times than I'd like to admit. Well, Frank, I want to say this. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I hope that all of you subscribe. We actually, if I'm not mistaken, went over 8K. Thank you. Frank, this is not, don't mean this in any kind of way, okay? Did y'all watch any of our preview shows last week? You know, the first thing that I said in reference to the running game, what was the first point that I made last year? Stick with the running game. If you get 3 yards, stay with it. You panicked. You panicked. Look, it's fine. They panicked. I also, in that take, said that you got to stay with the running game. Look, man, when you're able to just do this for a living, sometimes do I get things wrong? You're freaking right. I get things wrong. Didn't actually get USC score number wrong, actually. I said 28. They're going to score 28 points. They scored 27. Okay, a point. All right, whatever. I just thought that you would score more points. That's where I was wrong. I appreciate that, though, man. I really do. But he sends another $49.99 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, I wanted a Blake Baker, quote unquote, for our offense. This is LSU. We don't do experiments here for head coach, OC, DC. I suspected that this would occur. Not as bad as MH. Growing pain losses on job learning. We'd lose games because of lackluster offensive schemes. Yeah. Guys, I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. What Frank just said, Frank, I'm sorry. I want to respond to what you just said, but I had no idea how to respond to it. You know what I mean? Like I legitimately have no idea how to respond to that because I just think you're right. Like it's just, I don't know. I don't know what I could say with that. I really don't. I think it's a really good point. All right. Couple more here, then I'm going to get to this Rufino's rant, then we're going to get out of here. Hayes Reeves with a $10 super chat says, when are we going to talk about how Brian Kelly isn't in? He can't win big games. Mama always said never judge a person off of one success via Bama. Because I'm not – look, Hayes, I appreciate you I appreciate you sending the super chat. I'm not there with you, man. I'm not even remotely close to being there. And here's what I would really want to tell all of you LSU fans. Now, I would have to go back and reread Brian Kelly's contract. Maybe you don't owe him all this money. But at minimum, if you wanted to walk away from him, you're going to have to pay that man $50 million. You ain't doing that. You ain't going to do that. It is what it is. Jackson says, make the optimistic case so I don't lose it. All right, so here's an optimistic case. It's actually going to be a defensive part of this. I think so. Anthony says, Jackson, I'm going to come back to yours. Let me get to this one right quick because I'll go into the Rufino's rants off that. Anthony B. says, can you explain the delay of game on defense? So last night, LSU got flagged for a penalty in reference to delay of game after their defensive line moved or shifted. And when they shifted, it drawed a player off sides, which that's what they considered a delay to game. Miller Moss said somebody was clapping, so they gave it to them. Then it came back around, and then they gave it to LSU. I have no idea what any of that means. Did y'all see Josh Pate says, when I'm college football commissioner, I'm going to do like X, Y, and Z. And then I quote tweeted Josh, who I talked to Josh last night, but I quote tweeted him and said, hey, can you take away this delay of game penalty when the defensive line shifts too? It's an idiotic, very much idiotic penalty. I can't explain it to you because it's dumb. All right. Jackson says, make the optimistic case so I don't lose it. All right, here's an optimistic case. So today I got into a Twitter debate with former LSU All-American Will Blackwell on Twitter. And it's not just him, but I'm going to use him. I hope he doesn't mind. I'm not saying anything negative about Will. We just have a different opinion on this. I've seen some blaming the defense for last night's performance. Now, were they great? No, I don't think they were great. Were they really good? Yeah, they were really good. And they're going to continue to be really good because, guys, I don't think that you're going to play a lot of offenses that are as good as USC's are. Really, I don't. What I think is getting missed here, and some of these things about this LSU defense is, guys, again, I can't say this enough. This man's had 7 straight top 10 offenses in the country. 7 straight. Now he's got a defense that's just capable, and they're able to win football games. Guys, Lincoln Riley has produced 3 Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. He doesn't suck from an offensive play calling standpoint. But last night, LSU had 2 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, and they were 3 for 9 getting off the field on 3rd down. Now, Savion Jones was a beast last night. He had 2 of those sacks. Multiple other guys got other pressures, which was phenomenal for you. But I have seen a lot of people blaming the defense for the 4th quarter and what happened, and a lot of people have blamed them for losing the football game. Let's run through this very quickly. So, coming out of halftime, the score was 10-10. You were tied 10-10. And the LSU defense, with a lot of the same personnel, quite honestly, during the game, made me feel like that they were one of the top 50 units in the country. Here's why. They came out last night and forced a 3, or in the second half, they came out and forced a 3 and out. Then in the second drive that they had in the second half, they forced a field goal. They held USC to a field goal. Your offense got a bad penalty, then had to punt, so put them in a very precarious situation. USC only went 39 yards to get to into field goal range and make a field goal. So they went 39 yards. They kicked the field goal. They made it. You made a really good defensive stop. On their 4th possession, they came out. They forced a 3 and out. Now, let me stop right here. In LSU's 3rd offensive possession of the second half, Aaron Anderson scored a touchdown. And the score would go to 17-13. And after you got that score, the defense forced a 3 and out. Forced back to 2 of the last possessions, forced 2 3 and outs, and only left up a field goal. And you only got 7 points out of it. Guys, you didn't have 2 3 and outs all last year combined. No, that's not a made-up stat. You didn't have 2 3-and-outs last year for the entirety of the season combined. 2 of the last 3 possessions are to start the opening part of the second half. You had 2 3-and-outs. You only got 7 points in 3 possessions. Wouldn't stop there, though. Wouldn't stop there. The very next possession, on the 5th one, LSU would create a turnover on downs when Savion Jones would bat a ball in the air and it almost got picked. And so you have 4 possessions. You've given up 3 points. Now you're 20 minutes into the second half. And Brian Kelly said this, which was the best thing that he said last night. You know, at some point, if we keep throwing our defense out there, USC is going to score. You're right. And that's exactly what happened. And it's exactly why you lost the football game. Because your defense last night, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, got you stops. And when they got you those stops, you could not create enough points to win you the football game. And here's the last point I'm going to make of the night before we get out of here. I'm not going to be able to get to the third topic. It is what it is. Here's what lost you the football game too. You lost the football game mainly due to the point that you got inside the 15-yard line 3 times. 1, 2, 3. 3 times you got inside your own 15-yard line. You came away with 6 points. Six points. So you want my optimistic view? Defense going to keep you in some games. Defense is going to keep you in some games because they're only going to get better. They're only going to get better. Here's the problem with that. I don't know if you're going to be able to score enough if you don't get more innovative offensively. I don't. I think you're in trouble. So, all right. I appreciate y'all bearing through a lot of I know our internet wasn't necessarily the best, and it stunk. Not a lot I can do. Anthony says, love the show, brother. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, look, man, it's just that's how you lost the football game. It's how you're going to continue to lose football games. Listen, man. If you can't run the football in between the tackles, spread them out and throw that son of a bitch all over the place and let Garrett make mistakes. I know you want to keep a little time of possession and make your defense feel good and do that. You don't have to be gung-ho the whole fucking time. You can still run the football. But, man, defensively, I thought you were pretty freaking good last night. I'm just being honest. People who don't cover this sport or watch this sport enough don't realize how good Lincoln Riley is as a play caller. They don't. And casuals of the sport think they know, but they don't know. Adam with the $2 super chat says, do you think we're handcuffed to Sloan for Underwood? I don't know, but you can't have a bad play caller, quarterback or no quarterback. It would suck, but you can't. All right, let's get out of here. Football game's coming on. Let's go get to it. We'll see you tomorrow, man. Y'all have a good one. Peace.